Hey, what's up, money lovers? It's Mula. Today is my first video of Chapter 2. It's going to be a tier list ranking all the POIs for squads. The way that the tiers will be is as such. S tiers can sustain 2 to 3 squads fighting. Getting to zone shouldn't be too difficult. There's a variety of mats, and there's probably surrounding loot that you'll be able to get afterwards. A tier, it can sustain 2 squads fighting and still be fine, like decent enough loot. There's decent rotates, and ideally all mats as well. B tier will be that it can have 2 squads fighting, however once the fighting's commenced, the squad that wins may be a little scuffed, so they'll be reliant on other loot. C is similar to B tier, except that even after 2 squads fight, it's unlikely that they will find other loot because of the location that they are in, as well as just like things surrounding it. And then D tier is what I think are areas that can barely sustain a squad or just like don't have good mats. And so yeah. So to start off with, what I believe to be the best spot on the map right now is going to be the Slurpy Swamp. If you don't know, there's like the infinite healing vats as well as pretty much all the shield you can get from other sources. So you can probably carry every other healing you find after you finish fighting with the squad, as well as the fact that you'll get wood from the surrounding trees. You could fish for increased slurp fish probabilities in the water nearby, and there's a couple boat spawns in these outskirts. The only thing that I think is a problem could be that there will be third parties potentially from like these areas, like the woodlands, as well as this factory possibly, but that only can really influence you if their timing is really good, since you guys can just box up on the infinite vat and have full shields, and then just you'll have to fight a box fight. What I believe the second best spot on the map is this dirty docks. There's really efficient metal and decent brick here. There's also an enormous amount of chest spawns, and there's like 5 boat spawns or something. The only difficulty is that you'll have to bring a boat from this area over to the stream, but that's not too much of a distance. That's not too much of a distance. And then you can just follow the stream or whatever. As well as the fact that you'll have surrounding loot in the form of this army convoy or this mini junk. It's possible that a squad will try to land in this area though, so you might get third party from them, similar to that Slurpee. I'm putting Lazy as the third best spot on the map. A lot of the walls as well as the cars can give metal, and obviously brick as well from walls. The mats for wood is pretty efficient because there's a bunch of like hedges and trees and stuff. Obviously there's really good loot, and it's relatively close to the center of the map, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you guys to rotate, especially since this stream flows downwards and you can just get to the middle island really easily. There's also extra surrounding loot in like this army base here and like this house over here, as well as some stuff over there and here, so it's not too bad. Now for the last spot in S tier, there's going to be Sweaty Sands. You can max all your mats out here, and there's a good amount of loot just in this area. The only worry is that there are times when a team can land over in this island area. For example, they can go to these broken houses, take a boat, and like loot this, and then third party you guys afterwards. The only thing is that rotating out of here can be difficult at times, just because there's like Salty Springs here and Pleasant Park here, as well as the Holly Hedges. So whichever way you go, there's pretty much a POI if the zone pulls in this direction. There is one boat spawn here though that you can take with the stream, but you have a high likelihood of running into a team that is also using the river. Alright, so to start off A tier, we have Steamy Stacks. Steamy Stacks has really good loot in and of itself, and you can max out on your brick and metal for sure. These act as similar to the volcano effect from Fortnite Chapter 1, where it'll boost you into the air. The furthest distance it goes is about this truck I've found, but if you're going south, then you can take these zip lines and you'll make it there pretty easily. The only worry is that obviously you're very exposed on the zip lines, so it's just a risk-reward type thing. This does have other potential looting spots, for example these houses, as well as the orchard here. However, the thing is, the orchard is frequently contested by either teams at Frenzy or teams from Craggy, so it's not very safe, and I don't know if I'd always recommend going for it. which is why it's an A tier overall. Alright, so next for A tier is going to be Misty Meadows. Misty Meadows is kind of like the old Happy Hamlet, so if you enjoyed fighting there, you might like this spot. You can pretty much max out your brick. You might not be able to max out your metal. However, this spot is also really good if you end up with zone, because there's a lot of these back houses and such that other POIs don't really have the access to, and other areas such as these chest spawns. But if you do need to leave, then you have this pretty free rotation, in the sense that if you take the water, the only people that can focus you from here is going to be lazy, so it won't be too difficult to like keep an eye on them. Or you can go through the mountains and you'll have a good positioning, as well as like other opportunities to loot on your way to the center. Alright, so the last spot in A tier is going to be retail row. You can probably get max metal for your entire squad, or really close to it, and you can get max brick for sure. It has these zip lines that can lead you all the way to Steamy, like mentioned before, and it has a good amount of loot. What I also like about this spot is that it's very unlikely that you'll get third party, just because like the surrounding terrain and such, just there's not very many opportunities for other teams unless they're doing some kind of crazy mountain split, but I don't think there's enough loot that can cause that to happen in the time that it'll take for you guys to finish your fight. The thing is though that there's not too many surrounding loot spots. For example, this house might get taken by lazy links, so it only leads this for you guys. The thing about this river is that it flows downstream from here, however it will flow upstream in this direction, so just plan for that accordingly. But once you get to this junction, you can't go straight to the middle. Well, you can, it's just that you'll be swimming upstream, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so for re tier is POIs that can sustain 2 squads fighting. However, at the end, the victors may not have many shields, or they'll just be scuffed in general and they'll be reliant on other loot. So to start off with, we have Pleasant Park. Obviously, you guys know this spot. Overall, I think that it received a nerf from last season, because even though this house got completed and there's like a little bit more loot, this spot was really efficient for maxing your brick out, and the basements from this small house as well as this house have been removed. So I think overall it's not as good as it was last season. And if you guys do finish fighting, then you'll have to hope that, for example, maybe zone pulls towards you guys and you are able to loot these houses, but that's also under the condition that no one has landed there to begin with, or potentially the risky reels hasn't been hit, but then again that could also be contested by Frenzy, or like a center island risky reel split, or this bridge, which could also be contested by the team Craggy. So seeing as how it's not guaranteed that you'll get extra loot, that's why I put this spot in B tier. Alright, so the second spot is going to be Craggy. I don't really think that there's too many good mats here, which is why it's a little bit less than Pleasant Park. The same criteria exists for before. You could possibly send one player over here. However, it's a little bit risky if they end up having a squad here, since they'll be a little bit more isolated, and it might take you guys like 15 to 20 seconds or so to get to you guys. This player does have a decent rotation over to this way, but the bridge, if it is contested, you guys won't have too much metal to work with, since there's not like an extreme amount of cars and such in here. There is a couple boats though, so that's not too bad, but overall I don't think it's too great. This may be uncontested for you guys pretty frequently, so that's a positive, but I don't think it's stacked anyhow. And then once again mention that this orchard can be contested by multiple teams from either Frenzy, the stacks, or you guys. Alright, so the last spot in B tier is going to be this Frenzy farm. It's very much like how Fatal was last season. I find that most of the loot is concentrated on this house. I don't think there's too much metal here. Just a quick tip though, if you're firing these silos, work from top to bottom. It'll give you an extra few hundred. Otherwise, you'll have to find loot in other sources. This will probably be available to you first, other than from any other POI, since Dirty Docks takes more time and there's other stuff for it to loot. I don't know if I'd recommend the orchard, but you guys could go for it depending on y'all, as well as risky reels, which is where you'll probably get your metal from, presuming you're willing to take the risk of fighting there. The good thing though is that you have center maps, so it's pretty easy to get zone or not have too much of a difficult rotation. You'll just have to find like good brick spots to hit along the way, because I don't think that you'll be able to get max brick out of here neither. So alright, so C tier is pretty much just going to be salty. I define it as if two squads fight here, then you're going to be really scuffed coming out, and you're not going to have ample surrounding loot anyhow, so it'll be pretty much for nothing in my opinion, unless you're uncontested. The thing is that salty doesn't even have like good metal for a trio, let alone a squad, and the brick is pretty much only in brick house as well as like the basements. There's not too many good surrounding loot spots, like there's a few houses here and there, but overall it's just not too reliable. And there is a possibility that you'll get this lake uncontested, in which case that's pretty good for you guys. However, if a team is doing a lake risky split, then you're pretty much screwed, because the thing is, even though salty's in the center of the map, it almost hurts it a little bit, because you guys don't have a direction in which you can loot while you're rotating, if that makes sense. For example, what you will end up possibly having to do is have a really wide split, like one on the bridge, one on these houses, one over in these houses, and then maybe one over here, but it's just extremely risky to be split that far apart in my opinion. And so yeah, now for D tier we have Holly Hedges. It's pretty similar to the layout of Old Greasy Grove. It has obviously really efficient wood, but in my opinion that's like a really low priority to have, just because there's trees and everything pretty much scattered throughout the map. The materials for brick is like decent, but it's pretty much like a slow farm rate, and I doubt you'll get to max. And then there is obviously not too many cars. Also, the loot just isn't like stellar in my opinion. You guys have a possibility of having extra loot in the forms of like these things over here. However, the only worry is that if the zone pulls far in this direction, you have a really awful rotation, especially because this stream goes downwards and you guys have no boat to move against it. Alright, so what I believe to be the worst spot on the map is going to be this Weepy Woods. There's just not a lot of loot, like in general. Even for one squad, I feel like it's pretty unreliable, as well as the fact that it's a huge space and there's just not like surrounding loot for you guys to get that's reliable. Perhaps this spot, which has decent metal and a lot of wood, but you guys don't need wood, and you can really only get this if you're uncontested and the zone pulls towards you. If you guys do manage to rotate through this mountains towards the east, then you have a possibility of getting extra loot in the form of a few houses, but in other directions I just don't think it's too possible, so that's why I don't think this spot's very good at all. Well fellas, that's pretty much it for my tier list on chapter 2. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe. I'll be putting out some new Learn the Landings soon, so see ya.